Great leaders understand that the truth is still the truth, even if no one believes it. And a lie is still a lie, even if everyone believes it. Coming up. You know what, guys? I don't even know where to start to talk about the issue of Cyril Ramaphosa versus Trump, the Oval meeting they had yesterday. But if I were to say something, or if you were to ask me, I think Cyril's team failed to prove to the world and to Trump that there is no white genocide in South Africa. We failed dismally because if you listen to global news right now, they've swallowed everything that Trump has said about us. I still believe that Cyril should have been more prepared. I still believe that Cyril should have pushed a little bit more, especially as Trump was delivering and insisting on the genocide. There were instances, there were spots, areas where I think Cyril should have been more emphatic and, of course, be more prepared. Well, I don't believe the issue of being ambushed by Trump. I don't believe the excuses of most global media out there where they say Trump ambushed South African team, like as in like Cyril. I don't believe that. I still believe that we should have been more prepared and still keep our calm, still keep our cool, but be very emphatic on the issue of white genocide and, of course, white farmers being persecuted in South Africa. I still fail to understand why Cyril didn't bring South African stats. I'm talking about crime statistics dating way back as 10 years if needs be, already printed or even electronic. I still don't understand why Cyril didn't bring guys like Andy Motibi, and I think it's Andy Motibi, to join his team. I still believe that guys like Andy Motibi, the special investigating unit guy, and or at least Senzo Mchunu, I believe that guys like that would have played a major role in as far as explaining crime in South Africa. The saddest thing, guys, is that countries out there, even those that we have trade relationships with, still believe that there is indeed a white genocide in South Africa. That breaks my heart. What breaks my heart also, guys, is we couldn't even pick up and challenge Donald Trump on the video that he pulled, that video of many crosses, and even those papers of white genocide that he claimed is happening in South Africa. We couldn't even see that was just fake video in the first place. We just died. We just died. There was no counteract. No, there was no counteraction from our team to say no. We are challenging that video, because you can just take one look at the video. You can tell that's not how we bury people in South Africa. Where have you seen people, thousands and thousands of people being buried along the road, along the side of the road? Where have you seen something like that, Marahe, guys? So there was clear that there was fake video.
The video shown by US President Donald Trump during his meeting with President Cyril Ramaphosa in the Oval Office on Wednesday, it did not depict mass graves of white farmers killed in South Africa. Trump claimed that the footage showed burial sites of over 1,000 white farmers allegedly murdered in what he referred to as, quote-unquote, a white genocide. However, the video was actually from a community protest which was held in KwaZulu-Natal in September of 2020, following the killing of Glenn and Vida Rafferty. Now, this was on their farm a month earlier. The video is one of several misleading claims made by Trump to support some of the false narrative of a so-called white genocide in South Africa. Let's get some background now and do some fact-checking for you. Joining us to do that is our senior reporter, Conita Hunter. Conita, good evening to you, and thank you for joining us. Let's start with September 2020. What actually happened there? What was the protest about? It is sort of clear as to why it happened in the first place, but how did the whole thing unfold?
Well, in September 2020, the community of Nomedene, which is very close to Newcastle in KwaZulu-Natal, were very much disturbed. This was because a month earlier, there was this really brutal killing that happened where a couple was shot dead. It was a 63-year-old farm owner. His name was Glenn Rafferty. His wife, a 60-year-old woman, her name was Vida. She was also shot dead, as well as their dog. The community was outraged. And when I say the community, it was farm owners, farm dwellers, farm workers, everyone outraged at this violent crime. Immediately after this incident that really rocked that community, government was present there. Government had said at the time that they would then start prioritizing rural safety. Yeah. I looked into what was launched at the time, the renewed National Rural Safety Plan. You would recall one Beki Cele. He was the police minister at the time, going to the area, holding a massive meeting of both black and white citizens of that area, yeah, who raised concern around safety. So what you saw on the screen that was played out in the White House was not what Donald Trump said, the graves of 1,000 white Afrikaner farmers. It was not their families coming and paying respect to them, as he said. It did not happen on a Sunday, as he said. That protest happened on a Saturday. That's a basic fact check. Yeah. And let's actually just take a listen, Goli, to exactly how Donald Trump presented that video.
And the people that are being killed in large numbers, and you saw all those grave sites, and those are people that loved ones going, I guess on a Sunday morning, they told me, to pay respect to their loved ones that were killed. Their heads chopped off, they died violently. And, you know, I mean, we're here to talk about it.
So President Trump makes the point during that discussion with President Ramaphosa that the crosses that you see on either side of the road, and he says those were a representation of people who had died. What do we make of that statement? But also add to that, he tells President Ramaphosa in his face that government is doing nothing about it. Moments ago, you've just said that government said that a rural strategy was launched almost around the same time.
Yeah. So this video that's in question, that's used to prove, as Donald Trump said, white genocide, was, like we said, a memorial protest from a community in KwaZulu-Natal. And so when they say government has completely disregarded this issue, we tracked down the police minister at the time, Beki Cele, who said that he was in that community the day after this particular incident shown on the TV in the White House happened. He said it is not true that government did not respond and did not take it seriously. It is also misinformation that no one was held accountable. Currently, as we speak, there are 3 people that are serving long sentences. One of them is a 29-year-old at the time, he was 29 years old, who confessed to the murder. There was a car that was stolen. He says that since then, they have been characterizing farm murders. He says farm murders are the only named sort of subsect of crime in the crime stats. He says when there is violence against taxi drivers, which we know is a lot There isn't a reporting to say 8 or 100 or 2,000 taxi drivers had died, whatever the number could be. But he says government has made it a priority to intervene and to say that rural safety is a matter.
So
now,
there's specificity around farm murders.
Absolutely. And so let's look at what the stats tell us. The stats since 2020 range between 49 and 63 murders. Now, should anyone die? Absolutely not. But given the scourge of crime in the country, this is a minute representation of the number of people that die every day. So when we spoke, Newsroom Africa spoke to Bheki Cele, he says that it is patently untrue for AfriForum and then for the Trump administration to perpetuate this narrative that government simply hides or does nothing when it comes to the issue of rural safety. He says he went to this community. He says he went there with the Deputy Minister of Agriculture at the time, Tebisi Skwatsha, and he says that in that room there was both white and black South Africans. And so the point made in the White House yesterday that rural crime and crime that's affecting farm workers affect black people and white people. There is no evidence to prove that it is targeted killings because of race.
The media houses in South Africa are owned and controlled by whites. Yep. All the media houses you can think of in South Africa are controlled by whites. Now this brings us to this point. Why wouldn't whites publish and broadcast such huge number of white people that were killed as genocide, if you know what genocide is? Huge number of people being killed at once. Why wouldn't media that is owned and controlled by whites wouldn't pick that up and splash it all over the world? That does not make sense to me. Let me take it further. Then Trump went on and pulled out those printouts. Another fake data. If you look very closely on those pictures, that is not South Africa. Fortunately, or should I say unfortunately for Trump, as these guys were pulling this data, some of those pictures were screen grabbed from a video that was shot by a company, a media company called WION, this company here. So that company shot that video in Congo. And you can see the way those people are dressed up with all the red cross and everything. Why would people who are burying farmers dress up like they are burying people with COVID or something? That's another thing. But anyway, let's allow the media company WION to speak for themselves. Check this out.
During his meeting with his South African counterpart Cyril Ramaphosa in the Oval Office, US President Donald Trump brandished a stack of printed articles. He claimed that these articles documented a genocide against white people in South Africa. Among these papers was a blog post featuring a photo with the WION logo. But how did a WION clip land in the White House? Let's tell you all about this. Donald Trump played Ramaphosa a video that he claimed to prove genocide is being committed against white people, driving farmers to flee to the United States. He also leafed through news articles to underscore his point. And among the deck of papers he showed was a February article about tribalism in Africa from a website called American Thinker. He claimed that these were white farmers being buried.
I don't know what to do. Look at this. White South African couple say.
President Trump, why don't you go and see for yourself if it isn't?
Well, I could do that. Look, here's burial sites all over the place. These are all white farmers that are being buried.
The article featured a blown-up image showing Red Cross workers in protective gear handling body bags. Close examination showed that the image was a screen grab from a WION video. The screen grab was taken from a video story published in February. The footage, originally provided by Reuters, was part of a story from Democratic Republic of Congo. The story talked about alleged killing and rape of women in the city of Goma. The WION clip shown during the meeting soon made headlines, with many fact-checking Trump's claims. Trump was given the big stacks of articles by his aides, which means the president may not have examined the articles themselves. In fact, Trump and his allies have claimed that there is a genocide targeting white farmers in South Africa. The government has dismissed these claims. The government in Pretoria has dismissed these claims, pointing out that most victims of crime in the country were black.
The problem we are sitting with right now, guys, as South Africa, is going to be very difficult for us now to prove to the whole world that there is no genocide. There is no white genocide in South Africa. It's going to be very difficult for us now to convince some investors out there that there is no genocide in South Africa. Because right now, our team failed dismally to prove to Trump and to prove to the world that there is no genocide. And I wish Malema could stop singing that chant. Because we're where we are now, partly because of that chant. What do you think? Let me hear your comment below. And of course, if you are coming for the first time, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.